on FM, the aforementioned Facebook Live, YouTube Live. So YouTube, don't get jealous and envious. Or you can download the app in the App Store on your favorite device. You can also check us out on wordradio.com. Have we given you enough options this morning? Do you feel satisfied? And if that's not good enough, we will come to your house and redo the show for you personally. You down with that?
That would be interesting in the age of COVID. Yes, that would be very interesting.
Well, we'll do it outside of your home.
All right.
Kwesa, you gonna go with us, Kwesa? She's like quiet. Kwesa's like, nah, man, you're on. You're doing that on your own. Listen, if you want to get in this morning in the conversation, you can always call us at 215-634-8065. 215-634-8065, or you can let us pick up the bill for you if you're outside of the city of Philadelphia, 866-861-0900. Love to hear from you on today. You can follow us on Twitter at Mark Kelly Tyler, at DD Royster. You can follow the station at onWURD. And again, we're also on Facebook, because we're old school like that. So today we're going to have a great guest at 6:20. We've had great guests all week long. So we're going to have Catherine Gilmore Richardson, youngest person ever elected in Philadelphia City Council history, I believe. Came in immediately making an impact. Her legislation passed on yesterday and will take effect. We'll actually see the effects of it, whether or not it really means something or not, in just a few months as the city negotiates the police union contract. That was given a one-year extension, but her new bill means that the process has to come into the light. And that's going to mean something, I believe. So we're going to talk to her at 6:20, and then we'll take your phone calls as well. But as you know, what we do each and every morning, start the day off by talking about the big news stories of the day. And I mean, like every day this week, it has really been something. It's hard to keep up with all of the news that's out there. And again, if you're watching on Facebook Live, do like I'm doing right now. Hit the share button. Bring your friends and your family into the conversation. So, Royster, this morning, let me start with something a little light. Well, it's not really light. I'm making light of a heavy situation, but only because somebody else did it first. Let me just ask you a simple question.
Okay.
Who's your hero?
Who's my hero?
Yeah, who are some of your heroes? Any of them?
My parents.
Okay, your parents. Who else?
My parents. I would say Dr. King, Nelson Mandela, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Mary McLeod Bethune. Yeah.
Those are good heroes and heroines.
Yes.
You left a very important one off.
Who's that?
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse?
Yeah, you don't know who he is?
I have no idea who Kyle Rittenhouse is. I'm sure you're, I'm like, oh, it'll trigger something, but yeah.
Oh, speaking of trigger, he's the 17-year-old who went to to Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Oh, yes.
To guard America. Shot and killed two people, allegedly. Shot and wounded a third person, allegedly. He's been arrested.
When they have it on video, I'm just curious. Is it alleged when it's on video?
Well, I just don't want to be sued. So yes, alleged.
Okay. Just saying, I don't, this job doesn't come with like legal fee coverage. So, and my subscription to like, what was that? Remember that legal fee subscription? Yes. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my subscription ran out when I realized it really didn't help me. So Kyle Rittenhouse is being hailed as a hero to at least one teacher in Texas who assigned their students, a writing assignment on heroes and gave them a long list, including Malcolm X and Dr. King and others. And they included Kyle Rittenhouse as a hero. Write about him, why he's your hero, what did he do to inspire you, and all these things. Now, obviously, that's come under great scrutiny because what he is alleged of doing, people have seen him being taken down by the crowd. I guess those who celebrate him feel that his shooting in that moment was self-defense. Well, others say it's because he actually shot someone before you see him on camera, and the crowd are the people who are trying to catch him to take him to the authorities. Now, it's not like the teacher doesn't know this part of the story, but why would you see this? I bring this up because this illustrates the maddening times that we are living in, and the climate that we're living in, and the fact that this is not just about Trump, but it is about what he has opened up and the ways in which people feel comfortable now at saying and doing things that they know they absolutely should not say and do. Who's your hero?
Not Kyle Rittenhouse.
You know who my hero is?
Who's that?
Free chicken.
Okay, can I get there for a minute?
Yeah, you can. But if you don't get that joke, you have to go back and watch all of our shows from this week. And I'm not going to even take the time to tell you, but my hero is free chicken.
Free chicken.
Yes. I yield the floor.
Oh, Lord. All right. So our Attorney General, Bill Barr, was speaking at Hillsdale College just the other day. And he has gone on to say that this is our U.S. Attorney General, Bill Barr, head of the Department of Justice. He went on to compare any coronavirus safety measures to slavery. So he was speaking at this college, and he began to explain that he said, putting a national lockdown, stay-at-home orders is like house arrest, the Attorney General said. Other than slavery, which was a different kind of restraint, this is the greatest intrusion of civil liberties in American history. I do not fully understand how these people come up with this stuff. And he's constantly downplaying the experience of slavery for slaves and comparing face mask wearing and using hand gel to slavery just is a very different. It's a stretch for me. Can I just say that's a stretch? But wait a minute, it gets worse. So then the state of Ohio has now banned the state government officials and municipal government officials, as well as county officials, from preventing houses of worship from opening for worship. Because, again, it's an intrusion of their First Amendment rights to practice worship. So in the state of Ohio, churches and congregations of all different types can open regardless if you have a pandemic or not. And so Ohio has gone on to create this new law that prevents public officials from closing houses of worship during a pandemic. I don't know what these people are thinking and what's going on. Now, the latest news is also that our FBI director has confirmed that FBI Director Christopher Wray has confirmed that Russia is currently meddling in the 2020 election. That it's absolutely out there. And I'm waiting for Donald Trump to come back and say he doesn't know what he's talking about. I talked to him just a few minutes ago, and he told me he made a mistake when he was testifying before Congress, that he wasn't speaking the truth. So I'm waiting for him to come back and to do that. Now, it appears that Ray Way, however you say his last name, was
Chris Way.
Ray, yeah. So it's early in the morning, y'all. You got to forgive me. That the attacks are coming against Biden, and that they're trying to basically say that they're trying to denigrate Biden in many ways possible, and they're using social media, proxies, state media, online journals, etc., to sow divisiveness and discord. And what they see, the Russians see Biden as being anti-Russian. So,
but this is just free chicken doing what free chicken do.
Absolutely do. Absolutely.
Now, and Raphael, you don't get the joke. You think that I like free chicken because Royster and I are black preachers. Now, that is true, but that's not the joke. Somebody on Facebook Live, please drop a line in there real quick and let Raphael in. He obviously, this is a quiz. See, every Friday we should like do something like this. Bring something up from earlier in the show, and that'll prove who's been listening. We're gonna be like Trump. You're not loyal. You all are. Some of you are treasonous. You're listening to other stuff at 6 to 7. Because if you don't know my free chicken reference, then you are missing a part of class this week. Well, listen, I mean, some of these folk, in particular, white men, are having a very hard time right now.
Yes.
Here's the strangest part to me with their references to slavery. Nobody would say that the government requiring you to wear a seatbelt in your car is slavery. Mm-hmm. Seatbelt laws, I remember how controversial it was. I mean, look, I've been driving since before, like slightly before it was a requirement. Mm-hmm. Grew up in Cali, everything has been 10 years ahead. So in Cali, I think it already was, but I remember nationally, it was such a big debate. But we have just accepted it now. It's for our good, right? And it's for the good of everybody else, because if you get banged up and, hurt in a car accident, who has to take care of you? 9 times out of 10, the people do. It's why certain states require a motorcycle helmet. I don't complain. I carry my helmet with me. If you got to cross over to Jersey, you just out cruising around, put your helmet on. It's not slavery. Putting on a mask is akin to those two things. And in a pandemic, it is especially important then that you do something. I mean, it's such a small thing, but they make this. I mean, did you see the video of the folk running through a Target store? Take off your mask.
I heard about that, yeah.
Take off your mask.
I mean, for all these people a lot of these people who also don't want government interfering are also small government, right? So they don't want the government to pay for things. If you understood how much the government is paying right now to help support and prop up hospitals, or was paying, and not anymore, was paying to support hospitals and other institutions to protect our communities, they would be putting face masks on because they don't want their government dollars going to support these hospitals and emergency departments and places like that are taking care of us right now. But it's stupid. It's so ridiculous.
Oh, well, so Tawanda wins the prize. She's always like the best student in class. Tawanda just explained to Raphael Suleiman what free chicken means. And if you don't, I'm going to help you. We want people to follow us on Facebook. So you got to go to Facebook to see the comment if you don't get it. Speaking of Tawanda, who's from Lancaster, in her world it's called Lancaster. Shout out to Reverend Ed Bailey and the clergy there and folk like Tawanda who have been protesting in the wake of the killing of Ricardo Munoz. Yep. A number of those protesters, as we talked about yesterday when Reverend Bailey was our guest, were arrested and charged with, I don't know, luckily they didn't get charged with what Bill Barr, your favorite person, wanted them to be charged with, sedition.
Sedition, yes.
Yeah, overthrowing the U.S. government because you exercise your First Amendment right. But they were hit with $1 million bails, each of them. Fortunately, most of those have been knocked down to something that's still unreasonable. $50,000 is still way too high for a protest. Should really be a summons, like what happens in Philly, like a ticket, and then you go home and you pay $25 or whatever. But most of them are out of jail. Spoke to Reverend Bailey, and I also spoke to Malik Neal here in our bail fund in Philly. They are involved, and hopefully they will be able to get the rest of the folk out and knock those bails down. People should not have to pay that. If you have not yet become a donating member to the Philadelphia Bail Fund or the Philadelphia Community Bail Fund, please do so. And if somebody's listening on Facebook Live, if you can just post the links to those too. Thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, they had the action yesterday. So Reverend Bailey led clergy at Fulton Bank, and it was kept very tight to the vest right before they went to do the action, and they actually demanded a meeting with the CEO. They have a meeting with the CEO of Fulton Bank on Monday morning at 9 a.m. to have a conversation about the business community's response to what's happening with the police departments and how they're treating basically their customers and their clients. Fulton Bank's a big financial institution in Lancaster County area. And so nice. we'll continue to follow this story. They went in prepared to be arrested for sitting in at the bank. But they got the CEO on the phone, and he agreed to meet with them on Monday morning. So we'll be following that story.
Reverend Bailey said they couldn't get arrested. He said they kept giving them lollipops and ink pens. Trying to get them to open savings accounts for their grandkids. It's like, no, we're here to be arrested. No, I'm sorry. We're not going to do that. but we can help you get a checking account with no interest. No fees. It's Friday. I'm sorry. It's Feel Good Friday. Look, before we go to break, we have to at least mention this. Kamala Harris, Senator Kamala Harris, vice presidential candidate, homegirl Kamala Harris was in Philly on yesterday, making her rounds in her first stop as the VP candidate here in this city, which brings me to this last thing. I am so sick and tired of woker than woke, neo-woke people.
Oh, Lord.
You know, that's my new phrase, the neo-woke.
The neo-woke. I like that.
I'm so woke. To prove how woke I am, I'm going to do something against my best interest and everything I stand on just to simply prove to you how woke I am.
How woke
So I'm so woke that I'm not going to vote, even though I know voting would get Trump out, and Trump get out of office is the thing I want more than anything else in the world. But because Kamala and Joe Biden are such trash candidates, I won't vote for them, thus proving I am the wokest of all wokiest persons. There's an article written by one of these neo-woke persons. She calls herself a black feminist. She's from South Africa and talks about how she's having a struggle voting for Kamala Harris because of her prosecutorial past. I get it. I have an issue with some of that too. I've talked about it a lot in the primary. When you talk about it in the primary, we're now in the general election. There are only two choices. What good does it do to bring all of that up in an article about being a black feminist who has a problem with voting for her, if at the end of the article you then say, I'm still going to vote for her after you have trashed her? Folks, this is a razor-thin election. You don't want to do anything that is going to knock one or two voters off. I just saw a clip where a woman won an election in Delaware recently by 43 votes in a state election. 43 votes. So don't prove to us how woke you are by trashing the candidate you're going to vote for anyway. There is plenty to talk about with Donald Trump. He has given you so much ammunition. By the way, I will remind you at this point, these are the views of this host, not of the station or of Power Interfaith, who is the sponsor of this show. These are all my views. I'm just sick of the woker than woke, wokiest neo-woke folk, and I think we now need a break.
All right, you're listening to Power Hour. Mark Kelly, Tyler, Dwayne Royster. We'll be right back.
Justice, equality, accountability. These are the values we need in our leaders to bring us together and be the America we know we can be. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are those leaders. Joe Biden has the experience to fix our broken economy. He's done it before and he'll do it again. And our own Kamala Harris is ready to lead. As senator, she championed education, health care, and criminal justice reform. And with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in charge, we know the White House will be accountable to our community. For 4 years, our country has been run by inexperience and corruption, but we have the chance to turn it around with values rooted in our common goals and the leadership of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Paid for by Black PAC and Unite the Country. www.blackpac.com and www.unitethecountry.com, which are responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
The Word Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on Word Radio. Messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese. Exclusive articles and multimedia content and resources. Stay informed with the Word Radio newsletter.
2020 is the year of voter options. We have many different ways to exercise one of the most important activities in our lifetime. Some of us might be voting by mail, but the rest of us can still vote safely while masked up and social distancing in person at your local polling locations. If you're in Philadelphia, learn more about where your polling location might be at either votespa.com or philadelphiavotes.com. For more information on how to vote in Pennsylvania, visit states.aarp.org/Pennsylvania. Vote early.
Hello, Philadelphia. This is Ryan Boyer, the business manager of Labor's District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity, and I'm urging you, your family, your friends, your neighbors, and anyone you know that's registered to vote in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to vote on November the 3rd. Voting is vital and essential to our survival. Everything is on the ballot. How do we handle coronavirus, virtual learning, education, roads, bridges, jobs? Everything is on the ballot. We must vote November the 3rd. And always remember, the more you vote, the more you get. Please vote on November the 3rd.
Don't forget to tune into Labor's Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. on onWURD, WURD.
Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. Still in pretty good shape here in Philadelphia as we move on this Friday morning. No major problems out there. 95 southbound. Just late for the construction. Cottman down through Bridge down to 3 lanes. Further south, no other issues. Westbound Vine Expressway looks pretty good heading into the Schuylkill Expressway. Schuylkill itself westbound between University and 30th. Watch for slowing there through the ongoing construction. Further west, no issues. Eastbound 76 also off to a pretty quiet start. The 8 Turnpike and the Blue Route 476 looking good early on this morning. In New Jersey, 42, 55, 295 looking good in the Philadelphia. No problems on the area bridges. For more traffic information, log on to SIGAlert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne Royster. We've been getting into the mix this morning. There is a big debate going on the Facebook page. Tawanda and Raphael are going at it. And Raphael said, and I just got to lift this up here because he was really getting to it there. He said it's Kamala's white husband, along with her mixed race background, going to give her problems. Going to Howard and pledging AKA does not make you black. Rachel Dolezal went to Howard too. If Obama didn't have Michelle by his side, black women would not have voted for him. And then I got to give Tawanda a shout out on this particular point that she made earlier when you were talking about the soup doopy doop neo woke folk.
Wokety woke
folk.
Neo folk.
Said that person was clearly a black feminist and not a womanist. Now, y'all need to understand. Tawanda's got to break that down for y'all. There's a difference between being a black feminist and a womanist, and we should just be clear about that. So I just wanted to shout those out this morning. And other folk are out there. We just really appreciate everybody's checking us out this morning. We got a whole lot of folk out here, in addition to Tawanda and Raphael. We are checking out, let's see here, who is Dita White is with us. Hey, Dita. Sheila Washington Booker is here. Hoboken Mendez is checking us out this morning. Mary Tibbs Brooks is on the line. Larry Diggs is checking us out. Carmen Edwards and so many others. We thank you for checking us out. We know you could be anywhere at 6 o'clock in the morning. There's Shirley J. Carter, Sheriff Rochelle Bilal. The sheriff is with us. Kasuha is with us this morning. Joseph Simmons, Lamar Dye, Leslie Patterson Tyler. Hey, Leslie. Dr. Bishop, Dr. Peggy Kendrick is on the line with us. Thank you all for checking us out. We appreciate you joining us early in the morning. And now we got an interview, and I'm going to turn to Dr. Tyler.
Yep. So listen, let me just apologize for that Raphael Tawanda spat. That's some carryover stuff from an old show of mine that it's still going on. I mean, as Sheila says, so predictable, you know. Raphael, let it go, bruh. Let it go. So we want to talk about something extremely important right now, and that is a subject that's been on the minds of people in this country all year long, it seems like. I mean, since the pandemic started, we went from the pandemic to the pandemic of race and racism as expressed mostly in policing in America. And so we have on the line someone who has just passed some very significant legislation in her first, I don't know, she hasn't even served the first full year yet. And I mean, she is already making an impact. She is, I want to make sure I get this right, I'm almost certain, the youngest person ever elected to a seat on the Philadelphia City Council. I hope I have that right. Council member at large, Catherine Gilmore Richardson. Welcome to the Power Hour with Bishop Dwayne Royster and Mark Kelly Tyler.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me on the Power Hour. It has been a dynamic week for change in the city, and I'm just really, really very excited. I thank you for having me and for all of your support throughout this process. And for the record, I want to note that I'm the youngest black woman ever elected to City Council. For this term, our youngest member is my colleague, Council Member Isaiah Thomas. We're the first two millennials on council.
All right. And now you're also representing one of the Divine Nine. Is that right?
Absolutely. I'm a proud life member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated.
All right. Well, you got a couple of Divine Nines right here, and so I just want to I want to know, since I hear Raphael always out there kind of like hammering Kamala, like, oh, she's got a white husband, nobody's going to get behind her. Where's the Divine Nine? Isn't it like this? Like her nomination is something that the entire Divine Nine is excited about in a way that even Obama didn't have because he never pledged a black fraternity or a black fraternity?
Well, absolutely, absolutely. We are in formation for Senator Kamala Harris. I think that was evident in Philadelphia yesterday when Senator Harris came to the Northwest to talk with African-American women and assisted talk about the issues. It was not a gathering to say, oh, because you're another black woman, we are here just to fawn all over you. We were talking about serious issues around equitable funding in education, gun violence, support for municipalities, particularly for Philadelphia, in a moment where we know our revenues have declined significantly as a result of COVID-19. So we know that we will need the help of the federal government as we move ahead. We talked about a number of issues, and in fact, the conversation was so robust and her answers were so thorough, that we didn't have an opportunity to get to all the questions, because I even had some questions around climate change. But I will tell you that I was impressed by her, not only as an African-American woman, but someone who would be ready on day one. She has experience as an elected official at the local level, the state level, serving now currently in the U.S. Senate. So someone who would show up to the job as vice president, ready on day one, ready to effectuate change, will be able to work on policy and really help us make a difference in this country. I don't care who you are and what you may think. This election is the most consequential election of our lifetime. Don't get it wrong, okay? I know you may think this is, just another election. It is not. This is the most consequential election of our lifetime. It will decide the judicial branch of government on all levels for a very long time, including the Supreme Court. We have to get this right. I know we may not all agree with her prosecutorial background, and that's okay. That's okay. But we all have to agree that Donald Trump needs to go. He has given a license to people to be racist and to continue to try to keep their foot and their knee on the neck of African Americans, and we cannot stand for that. We must get out the vote in Philadelphia. The campaign cannot win the Electoral College without Pennsylvania, and they are going to rely heavily on Philadelphia to turn out the vote for the Commonwealth, because Philadelphia will be the linchpin for this state.
So let me just say, that was just amazing, the way you just laid that out. I want to thank you. And it also shows that it's important to have a succession plan in mind. So I'm thinking of, she was not technically your predecessor, but she really kind of like, thought about her leaving Councilmember Blondell Reynolds Brown. You all have a long relationship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
so I'm just thinking about oftentimes people just want to have kind of a yes person follow them so they can just hold a seat or hold some power that they had. But I'm telling you, I didn't know much about you before the election last year. You were probably all the people who were elected, I knew less about you than anyone else. And I have been so overwhelmed and impressed by the way you carried yourself, the way you just laid that out, and the kind of ways that you come in taking on very big issues. I mean, can you just, I know we got to talk about the legislation, but I'm interested in your story. How does one get you are being, you speak like you've been around 50 or 60 years and you haven't been.
No, well, thank you so much for that. And I will say, I heard you talk about your heroes earlier, and I jotted down my heroes. And of course, the first one was Blondell Reynolds Brown. I met her when I was 15 years old as a junior at the Philadelphia High School for Girls. she was just elected to council but not yet sworn in. So, that period where, you win the general, but you're waiting for inauguration. And I was so impressed by her story that I went home on my typewriter, I wrote her a letter, and we stayed connected. She supported me with cards and just reaching out when I went to college, and then when I was in grad school, I was an intern in her office and her grad fellow. And then after serving as a teacher and working in healthcare, I started working in her office full-time. And I worked from the ground up, really helping people in our city with everyday quality of life issues, anything that you can think of. My utilities, my water was shut off. There's a raccoon traveling in between our porches. Clean and seals throughout the city, helping to keep neighborhoods clean. But anything you can think of is some of the things that I worked on with our constituents. And then I worked on legislation as a legislative aide for 5 years. So really working on issues and cutting my teeth, learning the Philadelphia Code and how to navigate that process. And then before she decided not to seek re-election, serving as her chief of staff. So everybody, I think, thinks we had this grandiose plan, and I was always learning along the way. But when she decided not to seek re-election, I had to make a decision. So I came home, I talked to my husband, and he said, let's do it. And from that day forward, we have never looked back. And I would say, I have to accredit that to my parents, who are both now deceased. My mother was older. She adopted me from birth when she was 38 years old, and my father was 40. And I think I have an old soul because of my parents. My mom was from the South, born in South Carolina. My family migrated to North Philadelphia in the early 50s when my mom was only 5 years old. So I think that part of me, I know, comes from my mother, Reverend Lorraine Jenkins Gilmore, and my father, James William Gilmore. So thank you so much for that, because, I think it's important that people understand that I didn't just show up. I was doing the work behind the scenes. I was always volunteering and interning and trying to be a student of the process, so that when we get to moments like this, when we have really important legislation that we need to pass, that we can make it through this process.
Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson, thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I want to turn to your legislation now, and thank you for sharing some of your background so our listeners know who you are. But you had some really important pieces of legislation go through council yesterday and get voted on. And wondering, and congratulations on that, wondering if you would share that with us, help us understand this is regarding police accountability and policing in general. So if you could kind of describe for our listeners what happened on yesterday.
Yes, thank you. So first, I'm just truly excited about this because it's groundbreaking for the city of Philadelphia. For the first time ever, we will have public hearing and a required hearing in city council as a part of the police contract negotiation process. And I just want to take us back quickly so you understand why this is important. The typical process for negotiation of a labor contract with the Fraternal Order of Police consists of the city sending its proposal to the FOP, followed by the FOP sending its counter-proposal, and then 9 times out of 10, they never reach an agreement, and then they have to go into mandatory binding arbitration as required by State Act 111. So we know that our partners in the Police Reform Working Group are working on Act 111, but we need to figure out, and this is what we were able to do, how we can have a voice in this process as it relates to the city proposal. So our bill would require that a public hearing take place 30 days prior to the administration submitting its initial proposal to the FOP. And we amended the bill last week so that we formalized the process on how the mayor's office would contact city council to alert us that the negotiations are soon to take place. So we will receive formal communication from the mayor that will be read at a city council session so that we know within that 30-day window the negotiations are soon to start. Then we will schedule the hearing in council so that we can have citizen input in the proposal. And the administration will be at the hearing. We would, hear the contract terms they are planning to offer, and then we'll be able to have a public open dialogue about the proposal. And why is this important? This process has always been shrouded in secrecy. It's always days when we wake up and say, oh, the police contract was settled yesterday. And it's like no one knew what was going on or even had an opportunity to have input. This bill will change that.
And which committee is this coming before? Will it be the public safety, or is there another committee for that?
Yes, so we'll be able to call the hearing in council. I think it's important, we're thinking and working through that with the Office of Labor and also with City Council. But I think we need to bring it before the entire body so that everyone has the benefit of hearing the concerns of the people we serve.
Great. That's very helpful.
The committee of the whole.
So this year, the police contract was extended a year because of COVID-19. So can we assume that this will go into effect, I guess, within the next 45 days since it's been voted on, and that for the contract negotiation that will take place in 2021, this will be applied to that?
Oh, yes. And that was a part of the conversations we had with the Mayor's Office of Labor very early on in this process. Because we know that the most recent contract was only for a year. It was just a one-year extension. So they typically start the process at the end of the year. So we'll literally see this legislation play out in real time this year, which is why it was so important to me and to all of the stakeholders who are working on this to get this legislation passed by the beginning of September so that we would have time to be prepared for the upcoming contract negotiations, which will start probably around the end of this year.
This is beautiful. I mean, I you know what? It may end up that you're going to find out that, we got to tweak this. FOP found a loophole. But the fact that, putting them on their heels and on the defensive for the first time, I think it means something. And, I remember 3 years ago just being so frustrated outside the Sheraton, not knowing what was going on as they were inside. They're all just laughing, slapping backs, the administration and the FOP. It's all good. We're going to go through this big public show. But I like the fact that we're holding them accountable, and we need to thank you for that and thank council for getting behind it. When does the mayor sign off on it?
So we will find out when the mayor signs off on it. But we have a veto-proof majority, so we know that no matter what, this legislation will be law. And once we know that date, we'll begin to work with the Mayor's Office of Labor around just how we plan for the next few weeks and months.
A veto-proof majority on her first big, she's already done some other things, but this is huge. We might be seeing her run for higher office one day. You never know. So thank you, council member. We're going to let you get on. I know you got other interviews and folk want to talk to you as well. Thank you for your hard work, and thank you for carrying the torch. This is one of the things that Power called for last year before you were even inaugurated. And so to see you pick it up and run with it, and other organizations like ours also signed on to it. So we want to thank you on behalf of all of us who've been out there in the streets for carrying this on and making us go from protest to policy. Thank you.
Yes, and I just want to thank you and thank Power and all the organizations and all the Philadelphians who reached out and said the time for change is now. We are not waiting any longer to change these systems that have not been put in place for us. So I just want to thank you for your advocacy and for pushing for this before I was even a member of City Council. It truly made the difference. So thank you so much.
All right, have a great day.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.
We'll be right back on the other side of the break and take your comments and calls. I think Maurice is first in line. We'll be right back.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
The people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour workday, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Always Best Care is a great place to work.
Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
Diversity. Inclusion. Compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
As a business owner, hiring and developing people from the community that your company serves is one of the best ways to show commitment to that community. Let Word Radio help with Livelihood, our new initiative that connects Philadelphians with companies like yours. We'll feature your business, open employment opportunities, and resources to connect your company with talent and ensure that you reach your target demographic. To learn more about how Livelihood can help you build your team, visit wordworks.com. That's WURD Works.com. Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network. Now, a traffic update on Word Radio.
Good morning. This report sponsored by Staples Stores. Jammed up Schuylkill Expressway now westbound from University through 30th Street. Left lane block with ongoing construction. West of that, no other issues. Eastbound 76, not bad yet. Westbound Vine Expressway late heading into the Schuylkill Expressway. 95 southbound Cottman down through Bridge, jamming there through the work zone. Then Slogan Allegheny through Girard northbound side. No issues as of yet. PA Turnpike and the Blue Route 476 there. Trouble-free. 42, 55, 295 in New Jersey. Just some light volumes. 55 northbound Deptford in the 42, 42 south again. No major issues there so far this morning. Staples has everything to start the school year right at amazing prices, no matter where it happens. This week, pocket folders, comp books, and 4-ounce Elmer's glue, just 25 cents each. In-store only. Off ends $9.19 while supplies last. Limit 6. School on, save on at Staples. For more traffic information, log on to sigalert.com. Jim Bachman with your Philadelphia area traffic.
You're listening to Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, independent black media.
Welcome back to the Power Hour with Mark Kelly Tyler and Dwayne Royster. We just had a really great conversation with Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson and the passing of new legislation that will impact the police contract negotiations and make the process far more open with community input into that. So thank you, and thank you to Council for that vote yesterday that gave it a veto-proof majority that will now be sent to the mayor's desk to be signed into law.
Hey, can I before you do that, I just want to say one thing about the advocacy part and what we do with Power.
Yeah, sure.
So this is a part of our Live Free team, and again, Power is sponsoring this hour, and so you sit as our interim executive director. I'm one of the co-directors for Live Free. We got an amazing team of clergy and lay people, but I've been saying to people all year long, well, especially in this summer, because 5 of the things that we had as demands back in December that came from our work, and then also the shared work with others like Solomon Jones and the larger coalition that we all worked on together in the wake of the Facebook post. 5 of those things are either now law or about to be law.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I want to say to folk that you have to cast the vision and start organizing for it, because you don't know when the window is going to open.
Right.
I remember specifically Elder Melanie DeBose, my co-director, and I talking back in December about police oversight. That's going to be on the November ballot, and I hope everybody goes and votes for it. Independent civilian police oversight. And we were saying, this is going to be like a 5-year campaign. And we were kind of strategizing, thinking like, it's going to take a new mayor. It's going to take, we literally were like writing out this 5-year plan for a number of these things. And all of a sudden, the George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery protests erupt this summer. And the police reform working group she's talking about with city council and state reps and state senators came, and they picked up all 5 of those, plus Kier Bradford Gray, public defender's demands, and began to work them as legislation. So you have to organize, even though it doesn't look like it's hopeful, because you just never know when the window is going to open up, and you can walk right on through.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And that's important work. And we appreciate all of the folk from Power that have been participating in actions and working this piece, the whole Live Free team. So thank you for your leadership on that, Dr. Tyler, Elder DeBose, Gail Lax, and all of the
that are doing that as well. All right, let's jump in. We have some calls to get to. So we got Maurice from Southwest. Maurice, welcome to Power Hour.
Yeah, I'll talk to the Bopsy twins here, and I want to make sure that you understand that the AG, the reason he made that statement is because he's been reading Uncle Ben Carson's book, Anything I Don't Like is Slavery, okay? I want you to know that. So that's where that came from. But the biggest story right now is that a certain group out there, what had they taken asked for the removal of Dr. Height? Did you read that story?
I didn't see that.
Well, I've been hearing it.
All on the news.
Yeah, I have a bigger issue with you calling us the Bobsy twins, but yeah, I've heard that as well.
Well, because you guys wake us up in the morning. I mean,
Yeah, but-
you make me want to get a cup of coffee.
We started with Run DMC. Use that one instead, man. Come on, man. I'm looking right now at the cover of the Bobsy twins from a 1950s textbook. It doesn't look remotely close to us, Maurice. But yeah,
it's just a saying. Don't take it literally. It's just a saying.
I'm just messing with you, Maurice.
I'm
You know
trying
that
to say I'm a fan, okay? But listen, look, I understand because you good at that. That's why I listen.
All right, so
I like that comment.
So I'm here with you. There's been a vote of no confidence on the part of some for Dr. Height's leadership. You know, I don't know how you lead a school district in the midst of a pandemic. I'm not sure that you could really. I mean, listen, I've been critical of Dr. Height on a number of occasions around different kind of issues, but you know, I'm a parent. I've got a child in high school right now. I had two when this started, and one's graduated. So. I mean, again, I don't know what I would do with, a few 100,000 children, given the kind of circumstances. I mean, the newspaper today said 18,000, the front page says 18,000 families in Philly do not have internet. They don't have high-speed internet. So you're setting up an entire school system under, the thought that young people will get Chromebooks, which they worked out last semester, only to now get them in 18,000 families, which means then you're probably talking more like 36 to 50,000 of those students who don't even have access to internet in their homes. And again, as a superintendent, how do you work? I'm just prepared to give him a break on this until we get through the pandemic, because I don't know that anyone else could do something different. But man, but you're right. So thanks, Maurice. Appreciate you. Come back next week with a better illustration for us, too.
All right. Let's go to Will. Will, welcome to the Power Hour.
Good morning, brothers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I haven't come up with my name for the two of you yet. But the two things. Number one is $2 billion, and number two is the School District of Philadelphia. So I'll start with number two first. School District of Philadelphia. The bottom line of this vote of no confidence, as usual, has zero to do with those students. Those 18,000 students without internet is to be expected given the conditions of Philadelphians. And as an educator, I've been spending most of my time during the course of the day.
Well,
I think one of his students took his internet.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you're back.
Back, yeah.
I see it. Yeah, as an educator, I've been spending most of my time in the last 2 weeks attempting to connect parents to pick up their Chromebooks. I don't work for the school district. I work for a different district, but now I work for Philadelphia School District. But nevertheless, there's been a tremendous difficulty trying to bridge this the gap that Black people experience with the digital divide, right? But the truth of the matter is the group that is against Height, this vote of no confidence, has all to do with the fact that Height wants them to return back into the building while there are no students. And so they're saying, well, why do we need to go into the building if there's no students in the building? They become so comfortable with working from home that they don't want to go into the building. And so that's at the crust of the matter. But let's go to $2 billion. You know what $2 billion is, good brothers?
A lot of money.
That's the amount of money that the city of Philadelphia had in the bank of Wells Fargo. You know, racist Wells Fargo. And then they took it out, right? Because they found that they were racist and that they were redlining and discriminating against black and brown people, so that was a great thing. But then they shifted the $2 billion to another white bank. So I like the little police reforms and all that stuff, but can we follow the money? When are we going to say that the city is majority black folks, the majority of black elected officials, but all the money's in the white bank? All of it.
Well, actually, we need to create a city bank that is fully owned by the city so that the city is actually making money off its own money and actually returning that investment back to the citizens of the city. So I'm not really for us putting our money in a commercially owned bank. I'm actually interested in us creating a city-owned bank that benefits the citizens of Philadelphia and provides financial resources for everybody that's not limited by these for-profit banks in many different ways. The State Bank of North Dakota is like that. There are other city, municipal, and state banks around the country. And I think we need to, again, always has to do with the lack of imagination by Philadelphia politicians. It's like we need a city-owned bank, and that would resolve a lot of these issues. It would also make sure it could actually have from its mandate deep investment in community resources. And since the majority of Philadelphia, black and brown people, it would essentially be a black and brown-owned bank, which I think would be very helpful for us.
Well, what about United Bank of Philadelphia? You wouldn't be down with that? I mean, to Will's point, if you put $2 billion into United Bank of Philadelphia, which, we have an account with them at our church. We have money in a couple of different places. But again, the capacity of what they're able to do is very limited. And it's because they just don't have as much money deposited in them. And I'm just wondering if they had 10 branches instead of a couple, would they look different? And I mean, I get what you're saying, but I'm just wondering, is that an opportunity?
I mean, you need a backup bank. I mean, and I think that's always a piece that would happen. I mean, my problem is, again, with the for-profit banks and institutions, right, their bottom line is like creasing their bottom line. A city bank is designed to not worry as much about the bottom line, but worry about community investment and about making sure that the resources are going into communities that are struggling the deepest. So I think a city-owned bank would be a very powerful tool, and then we'd actually be able to open branches and I mean, we have banking deserts in parts of Philadelphia where no bank will actually go open up. So it would be great to have a city-owned bank. When we're collecting interest and things like that, it's actually being reinvested right back into the city and not going into shareholders or individual owners' pockets. So, and don't get me wrong, I like United Bank. I actually used to deliver mail to the founding president of United Bank when I used to work for Continental Bank back in the 1980s. I was a mail delivery guy during the summers between school. So I go back a very long way with the folk that founded Bank. Now, they probably don't remember me delivering mail to them, but I delivered mail to them. So,
hey, thanks, Will, Mega. And let me just say this, as we get ready to get out of here, I like that. I'm glad he brought some light about the Superintendent Height story. And, there's something about that. I preach every Sunday from my church pulpit, though nobody's in the building. And for me, it gives a sense of kind of, for people seeing me in the physical pulpit, a sense of normalcy and at least a connection back to the church. So I kind of get what he's saying. I think it would be kind of dope having the teachers teach the young people from their classrooms. I mean, a lot of folk are going into empty buildings. That is much safer. I'm not, I like it. I know Jerry Jordan's going to get me for saying that. Sorry, Jerry, but I kind of like that idea. I do.
All right. Well, look, we got to get ready to go. So thank you to everybody. Thank you to Councilwoman Catherine Gilmore Richardson, who was our guest on today. Thank you to everybody that called in, Will and Maurice, our usual folk that continue to reach out to us, all the people that commented on Facebook. Love the debate that was going on there. Thank you, everybody that checked us out today. And we want you to stay tuned now for Solomon Jones. We'll wake up with Word. We'll be back on Monday morning at 6 a.m. with the Power Hour. This is Dwayne Royster along with Mark Kelly Tyler saying peace, and we'll see you soon.
Deuces.
Can you hear freedom calling me to answer? Gonna keep on keeping on. I can feel it in my bones. Early in the morning, before the sun begins.
Did you get an eviction notice before the shutdown? Are you looking for a lawyer once the moratorium ends? There's so many questions,